taking a set of raw talents, raw strengths, and being able to identify those. First of all, a good life coach would be able to be able to sit down with somebody and pretty quickly be able to identify that person's strengths, talents, abilities, that spark within them that maybe they don't even know that they have. And it's the coach's job to stretch that individual, and it's really simple. Sometimes it's exercises, sometimes it's just head stuff. You know, if you look at the game of golf and you have an instructor, you have a coach teaching you to golf. Well, most of us know that outside of muscle memory, which we just get from pure exercise and the repetitive stuff over and over, the game's in our head.
Right.
And so sometimes coaching can feel like counseling, but we're no more counselors than a golf coach is.
Right.
It's how do we get our clients out of their head and just being and chasing after their dreams and their talents and their strengths, and letting their weaknesses kind of be their weaknesses, and getting off of the world saying that you got to be strong in all areas.
Right.
You know, it's like I've used the analogy of this awesome basketball player that goes out there and he's like just amazing. He's like 7 foot tall and he's got all this. He's just coordinated. And he just dominates when he's out there. And can you imagine like a counselor sitting down and saying, "Okay, well, let's talk about this. You know, you're not so great at accounting. I think we need to get you off of the basketball court for a little while. Let's do some accounting." and the world looks at that stuff that way too, where a coach would be like, "Are you crazy? He needs to be on the court. He needs to do this. These are his strengths. This is going to make him millions. This is going to make him successful, right?" And that's what we do as coaches. We say, forget about the weaknesses. Who cares? There's other people that have those things that are your weakness. That's other people's strengths. So great,
Right.
that ties us all together. But let's focus on those strengths, and that's going to raise that person up. Where I know that's kind of a long story about what coaching is, but it's really a pretty simple approach. It's that you're the expert. It's your talents. It's your strengths. It's your dream. I'm just here to partner with you and bring the best out of you. And I don't own any of that. I don't have to be an expert to do that.
Right.
I'm not a mentor. I'm just a coach. And when you talk about mentoring, counseling, and that kind of stuff, it's a little bit different. There's a place for it in our society, and we tell people, if you're seeing with a counselor, get a release, we're not counselors. But it is different. A lot of times a counselor will dig into the past. They'll look at the past and what's going on. The counselor is the expert in the room. So it's not so much about that person's strengths and talents and that sort of stuff. It's about reconnecting and building like broken relationships and that kind of stuff that sometimes coaching fixes, but it fixes it in a very forward-looking way. I like to say that coaching's present-based, future-looking, where typically counseling and mentoring and that kind of stuff is very now-focused, but driven toward the past.
Right.
And so what happens a lot of times, if you have somebody that doesn't have a problem but they're seeing a counselor, they're just stuck. Not
Right.
necessarily a psychological problem, just they're stuck. And if they're seeing a counselor and they're looking at the past, you don't ever get to see the future.
Right. Right.
And so there's a little bit of difference in how they work, and that's not to say that there's not a place for both. I have a lot of people I work with that are counselors, and we work hand in hand.
Right.
And we share notes back and forth. It's like, okay, this is what's going on. Okay, great. This is where we need to move forward. So there's kind of a partnership there.
Right.
Where they may be able to reconnect, build relationships within themselves, build relationships in the past, those kind of hurts, those pains, that sort of stuff. Where coaching then can then catapult them into a successful future.
Right.
So both are very valuable, but they're very different and very distinct at the same time.
Right. Right. So John, what do you think the future is of life coaching? Because I know it's a relatively new field, and it's actually spreading in popularity. I hear more and more people talking about it. But what do you think, personally for you, where life coaching is going in the future?
Well, first of all, I think life coaching's been around for a long time. I think we've called it different things. I think we've modeled it in different ways, but I think it's been there. It's been underlying in our society and throughout history. I mean, if you look back at a lot of the philosophies that were going on in early Greek culture and the philosophies that were taught then, a lot of that was still based in what we look at the coaching approach today. Like I use the example of coaching, we've been coaching for a long time. Now it may have been just with high-level executives or with star athletes or those kind of things. I think it's a little bit new the way people are using coaching, but it's been there a long time. As far as where it goes in the future, who knows? But I have a passion, I have a dream for making it affordable and accessible to everybody. I told a story earlier about my son and all the stuff that we went through, and it was a very, very expensive endeavor. I mean, we basically could have bought 2 homes for what we spent on the education to learn what we've learned. And I had a heart for, what about the people that can't? What
Right.
about the people that don't have, $100 and something plus $1,000 to invest in education? It's not from a university.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And it's tough. I was like, there's got to be a way to do this. And so my real heart, my real passion for where coaching is going to be is that it becomes the norm. It becomes something that companies just offer to employees as
Right.
a part of the package. And it becomes affordable and it becomes mainstream. So that's one piece of it, because I've seen how it's impacted my life. I see how it impacts my clients' lives. And I have a heart for it. I want to share it with everybody. I wish I could give it away. But, and I do a lot of times, but I would like to see it, not just this country, but all over the world, where this approach, where we don't have to be the expert. And this idea that we always got to be the smartest person in the room, that we have to be the expert, that we have to know all the answers, is so limiting.
Right.
And it comes from this place of perfection, and a lot of people want to think perfection is great, and it's all of this stuff, and it's really so limiting, because when we have perfection, that means we have a picture of what perfection is, and nothing could ever be better.
And it's not really attainable. I mean, and then it seems like when people don't, get to that perfection, oh well, I'm a failure. They just it's like they set themselves up for self-sabotage.
Exactly.
That's what I've noticed.
And they don't allow something better than what their picture was.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, if you put one mind together, you come up with one picture. If you put 5 together and they're open, you get this great picture.
Right.
And it closes off the great, amazing, just some of the most excellent pictures that you could have out there, because we're set on perfection. And so that's one of the reasons I'd like to see everybody literally in the world come from this approach, including not just the individuals, you and I and whatever, but the politicians of the world, the leaders of the world, the communities of the world. I want to take it to the forest reaches of the jungles in Africa, and and we work with organizations that do that today, but it should be a household thing. Yeah, I talked to my coach today.
Right.
So.
Okay, John. Tell me what your passion is what your passion and specialty is. Like, I know there's some life coaches that deal more with entrepreneurship, like businesses, some with personal growth and relationships. What are you really passionate about?
Oh wow. It's a really interesting question, because I kind of split. I love working with entrepreneurs, with business people, with people that are there's something, and not that we're not all special, we are, but there's something about somebody that's willing to risk it all. And that's the entrepreneurs that are out there. You look at them and they're all so lucky, they're so this, but it all started with, I'm willing to risk my family, I'm willing to risk my security, I'm willing to risk everything. And most of the entrepreneurial people have lost it all too, and that's the story we don't hear.
Right.
Is this entrepreneur that's made all this millions of dollars and been this success. You didn't see the previous 7 businesses that they bankrupted.
Right. Right.
And it's this willingness to just do it again, and you get beat down and you do it again, because it's who you are.
Right.
It's not. It's life would be dull and would be And there's this want to serve. A lot of people think that entrepreneurs are all about like taking, and the truth is it's all